Welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Electrocuted on a railway line as he went to get his football. How Harrison's story is being used to help other children understand the dangers ahead of the summer holidays.
I wonder what he would be doing with his life right now, because he would have just finished his A-levels. So many questions, so many things that I wish I knew.
A nature reserve near Hartley-Wintney ravaged by flames. Firefighters battle thick smoke as locals are told to stay away.
A car crashes into a living room in Oxford, leaving a gaping hole in the building and locals shocked. Investigations underway.
And we're at the British Croquet Championships, but it's not as gentle and friendly as it looks.
I like the fact that you've got this sort of veneer of civility. You know, we're all in white and we're all very nice to each other. But of course, secretly, you want to crush everybody like bugs.
Good evening. Harrison Ballantyne should have just finished his A-levels, his whole life ahead of him. But exactly 6 years ago, at the age of just 11, he was electrocuted on a railway line and died.
His mother is now leading a new safety campaign ahead of these summer holidays. She hopes that by telling Harrison's story, it will help other children understand the dangers around railway tracks. James Webster has been to meet her.
Harrison was lively, he was sporty, he had a large group of friends. You know, what happened to Harrison couldn't have been any more innocent. He had planned to go out with a group of his mates on an adventure, which is what I encouraged.
Exactly 6 years on, it is still painful for Liz Ballantyne to retell what happened to her 11-year-old son.
My name is Harrison Ballantyne, and I did not expect to die today.
It is a story which has been made into a powerful video, which is at the centre of a new summer safety campaign.
Didn't expect today would be my last day at school.
Young actors are seen retracing Harrison's final day out with his friends when they lost their football near a railway track.
I didn't even notice the power lines. I didn't touch them. I didn't expect electricity to just jump at me through the air. Didn't expect to die today.
They told me that I couldn't identify him, but it never actually sunk in. I couldn't identify him because he was unidentifiable. So that's, you know, the reality of that. My brain only realised that quite a while afterwards. And his friends had seen him. And they have to live with that for the rest of their lives.
Across the country, more than 3,500 cases were reported, and although down on the previous year, it is a number that remains higher than it was before the pandemic.
Harrison Ballantyne was just an 11-year-old boy, didn't understand the danger surrounding him when he crossed the boundary onto the railway, and he was just going to collect his ball. So once you walk onto the rail infrastructure, you are surrounded by a dangerous environment. Anybody could walk onto the rail infrastructure, and it's really important that they understand the danger that they're putting themselves in when they do that.
Didn't expect to be the last time I hung out with my mates. No, I wish I hadn't now. I wish they hadn't all been with me when I died.
That was Harrison and the boys that he was with. It was reenacting the day that he died, and that's a tough reenactment. But it needed to be done.
Liz Ballantyne is determined to use her loss to help keep other children safe.
You know, I wonder what he would look like. I wonder how tall he would be. I wonder what he would be doing with his life right now, because he would have just finished his A-levels. So many questions, so many things that I wish I knew.
Liz Ballantyne, the mother of Harrison, speaking there to our reporter James Webster. And tomorrow night we're in a classroom as children are taught how new technology is being used to help keep them safe on our railways.
Next, Heathland. The size of 30 football pitches has been destroyed by fire in North Hampshire. Around 100 firefighters were called to Star Hill in Hartley-Wintney yesterday, where 15 hectares of land was alight.
Well, crews are still at the scene and are expected to remain there for several days. Nikki Woodcock has our report.
The scorched ground lies still. The only movement is the sweeping smoke. Even while we were filming, hotspots appeared, demonstrating just how tough wildfires are to control. Firefighters were met with a rapidly progressing fire on Sunday afternoon, working through the night to contain the spread.
There's sawmills, there's a quarry, and there's also a home on one end of the fire ground. And we've worked really hard to contain it, basically within the footprint that it was burning in, and also to prevent it spreading to that area. The wind's been carrying it towards the house from when the fire started, and we've successfully prevented it from making the leap to the forest that is at the rear of the house.
There's still a very strong smell of smoke here as the aftermath of the fire is clear to see. It ripped through this dense heathland, consuming everything in its path.
This precious woodland is a site of special scientific interest, home to many rare species. Birds would have been nesting here, as well as insects and reptiles. It will recover, but it will take time. Although the cause is not yet clear, the fire service is warning the public against using disposable barbecues.
Our advice is enjoy the outdoor spaces, but enjoy them responsibly. So don't discard rubbish. Don't discard any burning material like cigarette ends, things like that, and definitely do not be having barbecues, disposable or otherwise, in areas like this, because it's so dry. And as you can see from this, it doesn't take much for the fire to pick up and burn through quite a large area. Already since the warm weather started June, we've seen a spate of quite large fires like this. We've certainly dealt with 3 or 4 now. If the weather stays like it has been, we're going to be very busy with this over the summer, and just in general, in terms of the climate change, we're seeing a greater increase in the size and the number of fires that we're attending of this type.
As the impact of climate change is laid bare, the fire service is inevitably bracing itself for the next call. Nikki Woodcock, ITV News, near Hartley-Wintney.
People living in flats in Oxford have been describing the moment a car crashed into their building and into a living room on Saturday night, leaving a gaping hole in the wall.
A Skoda went into the apartments on Elizabeth Jennings Place in Summertown. Juliet Fletcher is live there for us this evening. Juliet, this must have been quite a big shock for people there.
Yes, I think it was. There was a very loud crash and considerable damage caused when a car left the road and crashed into the front of this apartment block behind me. Now, one wall has completely caved in. You can see window frames lying on the ground, and you can see right into what appears to be a living room with damaged furniture there lying amongst the rubble. And I think there's a lampshade and a sofa still in place. Now, fortunately, no one was in the building and no one was injured. Now, it happened on Saturday evening around about 8:30, and I've spoken to a few eyewitnesses today who told me they heard that very loud bang.
We were all just standing there, and then within a moment of the great big noise of the bang, other neighbours started to come out to see what had happened.
We came over, and as we got closer, we couldn't believe that the wall had fallen down of the building. Not all, but the first floor in which it struck.
Now, many of the local residents heard that bang. The police and the emergency services were called and the area was cordoned off. Now, the people in the apartments above, they've been asked to leave. And as you can see, there are structural engineers now and surveyors in there working to make sure that the building is safe before they return. Now, Thames Valley Police have told us today that a local man, Adrian Morby, who's 67 and from Summertown, has been charged with 1 count of driving while being unfit through drink and being in charge of a motor vehicle with alcohol being above the limit, and he's due to appear in court next month.
OK, Juliet, lucky that nobody was hurt for now. Thank you very much.
The father of a boy who's been subjected to repeated racist abuse at his school in Maidenhead says the ordeal has taken a huge toll on his family. 14-year-old Cooper came home with offensive notes that were left in his school bag. The family say it's not the first time it's happened and they're determined to get to the bottom of it.
Not even one parent or any individual would want to see that. And especially in the era that we live now, is just difficult.
Makes me feel kind of like worried that it could happen again, because it has happened again, even though School said it wouldn't, but it still has.
Cooper School, Desborough College say they have a zero-tolerance policy to all forms of discrimination, including racism, and took immediate action. Thames Valley Police say they're supporting the school with their investigation.
A man who burgled several homes in Banbury has been jailed for 3 years. Anthony Chilton was found near one of the properties by an officer who he then tried to run from. Police had received reports of a man trying door handles and entering several homes. The 37-year-old was found with cannabis and stolen items.
Plans have been approved for a new NHS hub in Winchester to ease the backlog across Hampshire. Patients will be able to undergo hip and knee replacements at the centre, which is to be based at the Royal Hampshire County Hospital. An extra 2,400 procedures will be carried out every year.
Meanwhile, NHS leaders across the south are reminding people to take up their spring COVID-19 vaccine this week. The jab's only available until Friday. Those eligible can attend a walk-in clinic or book an appointment online.
You're watching ITV News Meridian here in the Thames Valley. Thank you for watching us. Coming up, we meet the Ukrainian grandmother who has escaped the war to see her family in Sussex, but why she's heading back as soon as she can.
Also on the way, Croquet. Andrew finds out why it's a lot more tactical than it looks.
And remember, for more news from right across the region, you can go to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, our number's on the screen now, and you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram.
Now, the Prince of Wales has been in Bournemouth on the day he launched a national project which aims to end homelessness for good.
300,000 people in the UK experience homelessness each night. Half of them are children. Well, today Prince William joined a carpentry workshop at a charity in Winton. There for us, Richard Slee.
Prince William is arriving at a carpentry workshop run by Faithworks, a charity which provides training for homeless people. The trainees here have seen the benefit of this skills-based help and were pleased to get the chance to chat to the Prince.
Seems quite enthusiastic, and yeah, I think the work that he's doing is brilliant. You know, it's going to be good for the youth and the upcoming, younger generation.
Do you think it'll make a big difference, the Prince being involved?
I'm hoping so. It's nice that someone from that high up is taking an interest in trying to help with that.
The Prince's project highlights what other countries are doing about homelessness.
Which is why I'm launching Homewards, to show that it is possible to end homelessness here too.
Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole was chosen because the area does have a significant homeless problem. More than 1,000 people on the streets or in temporary accommodation. But it has also achieved some success in tackling the problem.
Street homelessness is not increasing. We know those numbers are going down, which is amazing, thanks to the brilliant work going on by the various agencies. But homelessness, in its wider sense, is becoming a bigger problem. And that is an area that we think that this project will help us to solve.
The Prince's Homewards project will provide up to £500,000 to fund extra schemes at each of the 6 pilot locations, which will test ideas to see which is the most effective in reducing homelessness. Here, the idea is to provide training for what they term a meaningful occupation.
It's a very small project, but it's seeing people who are not only coming out of homelessness, but are working through addiction stories, working through ex-offending, but are actually then getting to a point of resilience, because they're coming to what is a safe place. It's a place of friendship, so actually community, and it's a place of support and purpose.
Supporting the Prince in this project is the Chief Fire Officer of West Sussex, who has first-hand experience of being homeless.
When I spoke to him, all of his considerations were about the experience of homelessness and how it feels to be in that position and what you need to come out the other side, not just in terms of housing and the physical resources, but what you need to be able to thrive afterwards as well.
This could become one of the defining projects for the Prince of Wales, but it is a commitment that he will know comes with the risk of him being accused of straying into politics. Critics such as the anti-monarchy group Republic say homelessness is about government policy and investment and won't be resolved by charity or royal patronage. But the palace says this is more about the prince using his public platform to make a positive difference. Richard Slee, ITV News, Bournemouth.
And more on the Prince's visit coming up in the ITV Evening News with a preview now. Here's Gamal Fambula.
The Met Police names a sixth suspect in the murder of Stephen Lawrence 30 years on. It has also apologised for mistakes made in the original investigation. We'll have reaction from Stephen's father. Also ahead, an inquest opens to resolve the mysteries around the death of Nicola Bulley. A pledge from a prince, William, on his mission to end homelessness. And another crack of the whip for Indiana Jones. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Next, a grandmother from Ukraine has visited her daughter and grandchildren in Sussex, escaping the bombing of her native city for a few precious weeks.
Anthony and Anna Seddon have so far raised more than £20,000 for medical supplies to help in the war effort. The family, like so many others, are now wondering if the weekend events in Russia and the mercenary uprising will bring them any closer to peace. Here's Andy Dickinson.
It took Vera 3 days to escape Ukraine and visit her family in Sussex, bringing with her awards for their fundraising work. All now reflecting on a weekend of Russians seemingly fighting each other.
На початку я зраділа, тому що відбувалось таке, що, мабуть, Москва паде.
At first she was feeling very excited because there was hope that the construction of power of Putin will be destroyed, and everyone in Ukraine was feeling that way. But nonetheless, Ukrainians were still shelled on Friday night, and there was still going on. Everything never stopped.
Anthony has been running almost non-stop since the invasion began, raising money for medical supplies, so far reaching a staggering 630 miles, or just past Dresden, as he attempts the distance to Dnipro.
Ми дуже чекаємо якогось поворота і знаємо, що ми переможемо, але...
Obviously some people are a bit more robust, some people can adjust to it better, but everyone's scared, everyone is a bit down, and everyone knows that we're gonna win, but you just don't know when and how it's gonna happen. And Mum's saying that there was a recent attack on Dnipro when her house was shaking and she thought that her life just about to end, but luckily for her the house still stands, but obviously someone else has died.
Всі англічані дуже добрі люди. Дай Боже здоров'я, і ми знаємо, що ви наші друзі назавжди.
Mum is saying that she'd like to say thank you to all nations of the world who've been supporting Ukraine, but special thanks to Great Britain because they feel like we're going to be friends indefinitely, and also because Anthony and I are helping, it feels extra special, the support that coming from England.
England is friend. Thank you very much.
A teacher, Vera will return to the war in 2 weeks, trying to educate a generation online and in hiding. Anthony will run the Goodwood Marathon next weekend. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Portslade.
Wish Anthony all the best for that. Now let's get some sports headlines. Here's Sarah, and you're starting with some racing.
Yes, thank you, Sangeeta. We are, yes, a hugely successful Royal Ascot drew to a close this weekend, and no one has more to celebrate than Berkshire-based trainer Archie Watson and jockey Holly Doyle. Both celebrated 3 wins over the course of the meeting. The pair capped off their brilliant week on Saturday when St Lawrence made his winning stable debut in the Wokingham Stakes.
Holly, as Archie himself just said to me about 10 seconds ago, it's been some week.
Yeah, 3 winners for the team. It's been unbelievable. You know, we pinched ourselves on Tuesday, and to have 2 more since then, it's mental.
You seem to be absolutely over the moon with what's happened this week.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Things are going great for Tom and I at the moment, and getting some really good rides, and thankfully delivering the goods when it matters.
Absolutely fantastic performances there. Now to football, and a familiar face to fans at Brighton is back at the Seagulls training ground today. 41-year-old former defender Inigo Calderon rejoins the club as under-18s head coach, having spent 3 years coaching in Spain. Technical director David Weir says the club has been working to bring Inigo back for some time.
Now, staying on the sports theme, and it's a fast-paced game that combines precision, power and plenty of tactics. We're talking croquet.
Yes, the British Croquet Championships came to a conclusion this weekend, playing the version of called Croquet Golf. I don't know what that is, as you can tell by the way I read it. Andrew Pate went along to find out and to have a go himself.
This club has been welcoming croquet players for almost 180 years. Moving from the original site near Brighton Pavilion to the pristine 11 lawns here at Southwick over a century ago. An absorbing and relaxing sport to watch, but when it comes to taking part...
I like the fact that you've got this sort of veneer of civility. You know, we're all in white and we're all very nice to each other. But of course, secretly you want to crush everybody like bugs.
So, could I take the pressure? A few tips from the Croquet Academy's Director of Coaching, and I was ready.
Right, let me stop you there.
Was that not quite what we were after? This is a game of tactics, as you try to get one over your opponent. They play at Sussex County Croquet Club throughout the year, attracting players of all ages.
We've had a world champion recently who was in his mid-20s. Also, my doubles partner won the Worlds when he was 62. So it's something you can learn quickly, but you can just keep going, keep getting better, keep learning new tactics. So it's a game that you can just evolve with and grow with.
The youngsters we've got here hit the ball incredibly hard, as do the Egyptians. The Egyptians, this is the Egyptians' game. And my goodness, if you get a chance to see Egyptians play croquet, my goodness, do they hit balls. Balls fly everywhere at great speed and with great accuracy.
And on a championship course, the hoop is just 0.8 millimetres wider than the ball. So precision, power and a bit of spin are needed. And it certainly isn't as easy as it looks.
Nice and smooth.
Well, that's my excuse. Oh.
Well done. Well done. Excellent.
I'm just really chuffed. I was just a few feet out and it was my 15th take, but I did it. I can retire.
Yeah, you can. So can I.
Is it wrong to say I'd like to see the replay to make sure it went through?
But you know what? The man's got a suit on.
That's true, yeah.
You know, if he had something a bit more flexible, I'm sure it would have taken 15 takes.
That's true. Right, let's talk about the weather. Pip joins us in the studio. And a lot of people, I guess, are going to be quite pleased that it's cooling off a little bit.
Yes, me included. The weekend was just too hot for me. This week, a lot more manageable. But let's take a look at the temperatures we had this weekend, because yesterday gave us our warmest day of the year so far. The top temperature in the UK was Coningsby, 32.2 Celsius, but here in the Meridian region, Benson not far behind, 30.1 degrees Celsius. Not a record breaker for June here. That was set back in the long hot summer of 1976. But warming up globally, records are tumbling this June elsewhere. Beijing 41.4 Celsius, Corsica 41.6 last week. That's just shy of 107 Fahrenheit. Phewie.
But Pip, there has been something special to see in the sun.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, so this time of year, we've been treated to something rather seasonal. Take a look at this lovely picture from Ryan, the rainbow here in the clouds. This is known as a circumhorizontal arc. It belongs to the halo family. I occasionally show similar things, and they all are formed in the same way, really. So the sun's rays refracting and reflecting off ice crystals high up in the atmosphere. We get these lovely rainbow displays. But this one is particularly special because it only happens a few weeks either side of the summer solstice when the sun is exceptionally high in the sky. A lovely picture and something I'm yet to see in real life.
It's not a catchy title though, is it?
No. Circumhorizontal arc, no.
Rainbow clouds to you and me.
Okay,
that'll
fine.
do.
That's
Your full forecast now. Here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So after the heat of the weekend, things are feeling a little more manageable as we head through the next few days. And certainly weather-wise, after a dry start to the week, it looks as though we could see some showers or even some longer spells of rain from midweek onwards. So currently high pressure still in charge, but you can see if we run the sequence through the next few days, we will start to see fronts drifting in from the northwest. The first one Wednesday night into Thursday, and the second one Friday night into Saturday. So some welcome rain for the garden, but I suspect for most of us, much of that will fall overnight and many of the days will be largely dry. Out there at the moment then, we're looking at pretty quiet conditions, clear spells to start the night. I think later on we'll start to pull in a bit more cloud from the west. Otherwise very quiet, and temperature wise, well, probably similar to last night, but a somewhat fresher feel, not quite as humid, lows between 12 and 15 degrees. Tomorrow morning then, I think probably we'll see the best of the sunshine during the first half of the day, but as the day wears on, cloud continuing to thicken up from the west. It could be thick enough in places to produce a few spots of light rain, mainly up across the likes of Oxfordshire, and temperature wise, well, similar to today, if not a shade lower, less in the way of sunshine, highs probably around 22 degrees.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
And of course, we are still very much in the midst of pollen season. Grass pollen still the main culprit, and levels over the next few days are likely to remain generally in the high category. Bye-bye for now.
And that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Gamal Fanbullah tonight.
But now though, from all of us here, thank you so much for watching. Matt will have your late update and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, good time.